Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised on DNA, laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like baby zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live, 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside, why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stack cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of Don's lies as Arjun act like he's surprised.
Oh my God, those harps, those angels, those everything. I don't think I'm ever gonna get tired of it, man. I wasn't even tired of our original.
Well, that's because it's pretty much the same as the original. There's very few differences.
Mm-hmm.
But this reminds me, I believe it was none other than the D who said about a month ago, after he moves in, after he takes some time to settle in, he's gonna, turn on that Ableton Live and, play little beats there. I wonder if there's been any progress on that end. Any new sampling, perhaps? Any new instrumentals in your garage?
Of course not. I still have boxes actually to my right and my left that have yet to be unloaded. I've been handling a lot of things that come with a new place. Dude, I kid you not, I was on the line with my internet provider. Won't say who. but I do get to watch the Dodgers and Lakers.
Hey.
But I was on the line with them for a solid, hour every day for the past week.
Wow.
Trying to get our internet to work out and to get our TV to work out. And by golly, yesterday it finally happened. So that, getting all the other boxes all set up, getting our food and dinner done on a daily basis, taking care of a new dog, it's tough.
Man. Oh my gosh, you are adulting at a Superman level.
It's tough.
And I appreciate that so much.
It's tough.
But something that may probably whet your appetite in a different way. Did you know what's happening in the month of November, specifically November 12th?
Oh, what's November 12th?
It is the day that the PS5 officially launches.
Oh, I actually did know that. I was looking up on it earlier today for a bit.
Yeah.
I think a couple websites actually had their pre-orders up, and then they already sold out. Yeah.
I actually signed both of us up for the official pre-order. It's not the real pre-order. It's like a lottery system for Sony to reach out to you if you get lucky, and then they'll send you a special email, and it's first come, first serve. Unfortunately, I don't think either of us will get that.
I doubt it.
I know. But, I think...
you never know.
I think we can probably hold off a little bit. We don't have to get it November 12th. I think there's plenty of time before the Christmas holidays and even Black Friday. Who knows? There may be some kind of a $50 discount for Black Friday. But the interesting thing is for the fans in attendance, and of course we have many. By the way, shout out to our latest subscriber. I think it is none other than the GOAT in my personal life, Tyler Lee.
Oh, okay.
Tyler Lee.
Close.
He is
close.
He is one of the smartest people I know. He taught me everything about cars, and I knew nothing to begin with. But
are you sure?
He even taught me how to wash my car. Believe it or not.
Oh wait, you didn't.
No. I didn't know about the waxing part. I didn't know about the wax and dry from turtle wax.
You didn't know clay bars and all that.
I still don't know clay bars. So clearly Tyler has more things to teach me. But I just want to shout out to him. I appreciate him for subscribing. He may even be listening. I don't even know. But if he is, thank you for your patronage. But let me just say for everyone in attendance, so the PS5 comes out in 2 editions, as Don already knows.
Yep.
One is the digital-only edition, where there is no drive. You have to download all of your games, and Don can avail his Spectrum or Time Warner, whatever it's called nowadays, to download the games on his hard drive. And this will run you about, it says $400.
Yeah, $399.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad. I thought it was going to start off at $500. So the fact that they're going at $400... Yeah, I really did, because... What was it? The PS4 was retailing at what, $300?
So I think what you're thinking of is the PS3 initially retailed for $5. But then the PS4, it retailed for a little bit less. I think it was around like 400 or 300. I forget.
Sure.
But it's understandable why they would go up again. But I think after Microsoft with their Xbox Series S and Series X or O, whatever the letter is,
Sure.
they unveiled a rather low price point, if you recall.
Sure.
For the next generation, the latest and greatest will be about, I want to say 500, but the cheaper edition for Xbox will be only $300. So that is very interesting for a next gen console to be that cheap. And so I think
what causes that fucking almost 100% or doubling in price? Like, what?
I'm sure there's some legitimate hardware differences, but probably Xbox is doing the same thing as Sony, where they have like a digital only edition,
Sure.
where it's like save everything to your SSD, but then there's maybe some hardware downgrades, like maybe the processor isn't quite as fast.
Sure.
Maybe some firmware limitations are there too. I haven't looked into all the details, but for a $200 difference, I would imagine there's something significant going on.
Sure.
But let me ask you this. I know you are a Sony man. You are committed to the PS5. I am as well. I am in no means trying to sway you. But between the digital edition, which doesn't have a disc drive, and the Blu-ray edition, which does have a disc drive for $100 more, which one are you leaning towards?
I'm going all digital, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't see a point in having hard disks anymore. I think we're entering the age where everything is getting digitized and everything resides in the cloud, and eventually, maybe not for this generation of consoles, but maybe in the next, everything will reside. It'll just be pure streaming at that point, because 5G will be running rampant, maybe even 6, 7G. Who knows? At the pace that technology is growing at.
I think you bring up some great points. With the cloud, I know like Google Stadia has been on the forefront of that. They've been trying to advertise this new platform through Google where you basically play the game on a server and you're just sending commands back and forth, and obviously you're getting the audio and visual from the stream.
Mm-hmm.
But I really wonder if that'll catch on, because think about how fast your internet has to be to really have a great gameplay experience.
Yeah, no,
right?
I totally get that. I mean, but just look at how fast the internet has, gotten over the past our lifetime. Right? When we were in grade school, we had dial-up. Maybe, if we were lucky, we had 56K or cable.
56K, that's right. That's right.
And then, what was it? I think when we were in college, that's when like T1, T2, T3s were like, oh, that's like for hardcore people that don't even, And now we're working with fiber, depending on who your provider is, or standard internet service, where you're hitting 200 at least.
Do you have fiber, by the way, or is it something else?
No, it's just standard internet cable.
Got you.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, you're right. I think fiber is the way of the future. The problem is, it does cost a lot of money to build the infrastructure, not only in the big cities, but also in the rural areas. And
especially the rural areas, yeah.
Especially because to reach it all the way out there, it's not a problem of really distance of the cabling, because as you know, with fiber, and I guess we can save this conversation for later, but with fiber you can go long distances, like tens of kilometers, with one fiber link, and you're totally okay. But really the problem is setting up the infrastructure, like the base stations, and having all the different capacity to really support them, all the way in Idaho where they have nothing but potatoes, all the way in Wisconsin where they have nothing but the Packers, and Milwaukee, of course. And speaking of, I wasn't meaning to segue this way, but speaking of Milwaukee,
always impressive.
Yes, in a very weird way. But speaking of Milwaukee, as you know, the Milwaukee Bucks were eliminated from the playoffs in the second round by the Miami Heat. Boo-hoo is right. Boo-hoo is right. Because, Giannis has always been one of my favorite players in the current NBA. And I know mentally that I should have bet against him, because his track record isn't great in the playoffs. And, Boston shut him down for years. Philadelphia, Toronto, they all kind of do well against him. But I really thought this year, they'll finally find a way without Kawhi Leonard in the East, with no LeBron in the East. He's the best player in the Eastern Conference. He has to find the way. But at last, my mind was right. Miami being the best defense in the East, with Jimmy Butler playing like a savage. They eliminated Milwaukee, not in a 7-game, but no, just in 5 games. Or not even. They swept them, right? Was it a sweep? I think
I thought it was 5.
It might have been a. It was 5?
I thought it was 5.
Oh man!
Because remember they won the game where he got injured.
Ah, you're right. I completely forgot that. I almost discounted.
I'm a Giannis fan.
Well, when he got injured, I turned off the TV. I turned off the TV when he got injured. So yes, I'm still a Giannis fan. But so the biggest news that happened more recently, soon after this, he said all the right things during the exit interview, during the the post game conference.
Sure.
But apparently, he unfollowed all of his teammates and Bucks executives from his Instagram or from his Twitter, whatever Instagram, yes. And I thought, oh, that's strange. Why would somebody like Giannis, who I always consider to be a homer, why would he do that all of a sudden? And then the next day, he has a 3-hour lunch with the owner of the Bucks, discussing the future with the team. So that shocked me a little bit. I really didn't expect him to do that. But what do you think was his motivation? Do you think he was trying to maybe follow in the footsteps of a former legend?
Of course.
In this,
Of course, yeah. It's a Kobe move. And I think it's interesting because Giannis has the work ethic of Kobe, but not necessarily the personality, I would say. But I believe, if you look at the core of why he would possibly do this, I think we could both agree that one of the main reasons, if not the reason, would be to remove any potential distractions or any unnecessary information for a very, what seems to be to many people, a very difficult situation or decision he's going to have to make in the next coming months. I don't think it's a difficult decision, but I think he's removing himself from all these distractions in order to, probably hear everything in a level playing field, and he's not giving his Bucks, special treatment for whatever reason, which I thought he would. Given that, the things he said in the past. He said he's always wanted to play for a small to middle market team, and he's proud to be there, and maybe that was all just publicity to increase his stock.
I actually think it was genuine coming from him, but as you know, with every superstar, they come with an entourage, right? They come with a supporting cast. For LeBron, he has Maverick Carter. He has a couple other people talking in his ear. And I think for Giannis, he may have some agent, maybe his brothers just talking to him and thinking, your playing career is so short. The average playing career is maybe 7 years. For a superstar, if you're lucky, like a Kobe Bryant, like a Dirk Nowitzki, maybe it's 20 years.
Yeah.
And Giannis is approaching the halfway point.
Well, he's definitely reaching the halfway or the peak of his prime, I would say. Maybe going to another place will elevate that threshold that he's currently hitting. So I would argue, yeah, he knows that, it's not a 20-year career that he could make the money that he could possibly make this year. He's looking at the next, if he treats his body as LeBron does, the next maybe 5 to 10, depending on technology and how well he's taking care of his Greek god body.
I with these kind of decisions, I always look at the money first. And as you know, if a player signs with the home team, he can get the most.
Sure.
Guaranteed by far. I think it was somewhere on the order of $250 million or even higher for the length of the contract, which is wild. I mean, he would be a quarter billionaire seemingly overnight. Although, of course, he would get the money later. But beyond that, I look at Giannis in the same vein, and I know we talked about this last year or last podcast rather, as Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant had to do a lot of heavy lifting on OKC. Sure, he had Westbrook. Sure, he had Harden and Ibaka and everybody. But it's different when you are the face, the clear face of the franchise that's trying to prove himself. There's more expected of you, both on defense and offense. And typically what happens is even great defenders kind of become more offensive minded just to carry the offensive load as the game continues. I believe that's what happened to Giannis. Giannis started off as an athletic freak, and he still is, but he was known to be scrappy with his like steals, playing the passing lanes and blocks, and I would always consider him as more of a defender than an offensive powerhouse, like a Sean Kemp style dunker. But now, with his added ball handling responsibilities, he simply has too much on his plate. So I think the best thing for Giannis is to find himself, and I hate to say this, but find himself a Golden State-like situation where he doesn't need to do as much playmaking, he doesn't need to score as much, and instead, he can focus on becoming a better defender, arguably a better defender than KD was with the Warriors. And you already know, KD became one of the best defenders in the league with the blocks and the steals and the on-ball defense, switching on the pick and roll. He was really, really difficult to contend with. So I think Giannis needs a new team to really become the best version of himself and give himself the best shot at winning a title. But with that being said, if he does decide to stay with Milwaukee, I don't think anybody would be mad at that. I think knowing his character, knowing how he is, knowing how much he views the Milwaukee Bucks, the entire city, the entire state of Wisconsin, as very much his family, I can't imagine him, leaving his family, leaving all that money on the table, just to be like a KD.
Yeah.
So I can see him going either way.
Yeah, no, I can too, and I think people will respect his decision no matter where he goes or if he stays. The only choice he could make where people will despise him is if he goes to whoever wins the championship this year. Let's not repeat a Kevin Durant. Let's actually go to a legitimate contending team that is almost there, and you're there to bring him over the hump, not ride along and bandwagon the championship banners. So.
You know what would be really wild? Like, I just thought about this, but if they could somehow trade Westbrook for Giannis, and the Rockets would have the ungodly combination of James Harden playing point guard and Giannis is the big man? Are you kidding?
Yeah, that'd be. Well, the thing is though, the load would be too much on Giannis.
Why? Why would it be too much on him?
He'd be the only big man. He'd be the only big man. He'd be the one holding down the paint. Granted,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But dude, the Rockets. Okay, I know we're gonna get into something else here, but the Rockets have been playing a very up-tempo style where they don't really need a legitimate big man. PJ Tucker has been playing 48 minutes a night and getting bodied.
Yeah, he's been getting his ass kicked every day. I mean, even in practice, they probably have like a practice squad full of centers.
Sure. just like 7-footers they got off the Y.
Tucker's like, I just want to shoot free throws and shoot the threes. Like, no, do the big man drills, buddy. we don't care how many pairs of shoes you have, man. Just fucking go. But dude, no, but Giannis's play style, I think just for the longevity of his career and the best way to mitigate him from receiving any future injuries, if he were to go to Houston, it would not help that. It would be more detrimental to his overall playing health. But
I would disagree with that, but I see where you're coming from. I think you want him to go to a team where there's more balance, right?
Yep.
And who knows? There's a lot of good options out there.
Yeah, I mean,
I actually think if he waits it out, right? Like if he doesn't force a trade, plays out this final year, then somebody was telling me he becomes a free agent at the same time as Kawhi and Paul George. So if that's the case, we could see some kind of,
Three-headed
Duper team
dragon.
forming in 2022.
Ooh, who's open for that? I mean, who's gonna in OKC again? Who would have the
Uh,
cap in 2022?
I haven't looked into the numbers, but I'm sure. I'm
Sacramento
sure.
Kings.
Oh
I
man,
think.
could you imagine the Kings finally become relevant? Oh my
Oh
gosh.
shit! Or maybe the Pelicans. I'm
You
trying to
know,
think of
I
small market teams. Charlotte.
it really depends on when other contracts are up. I think I'm sure teams are timing for this. Maybe the Knicks. The Knicks might get in there. The
Hell,
Knicks, I feel like the Knicks are always trying to dip their hand in the honey pot,
sure.
but they always end up with a handful of bees stinging them up the arm. So I don't know who's gonna get Giannis. I wouldn't even mind if he stays in Milwaukee. But we touched on something a little bit earlier that I want to get into now. The Rockets. Um, of course, as everybody knows, the Rockets were eliminated rather quickly by the Lakers. I think in 5 games. Right? They lost the first one.
Made some good
Lakers
money
lost
on
the
that
first
one.
one, but it's been a roller coaster run for them. I think they got Westbrook. They thought it would be an interesting experiment, and it seemed like it was working during the regular season. But Westbrook was kind of awful in the postseason, especially in the bubble,
Kinda.
and the whole thing was kind of crumbling apart. And now it seems like D'Antoni has decided not to pursue another contract with the Rockets. So instead, he will be taking his talents elsewhere. There's rumors as to where he could go. Um, but before we get into where his destination may be, I want to ask you, when you think of Coach D'Antoni, Don, do you consider him to be one of the best coaches in the NBA?
No. And that's partly biased on my end because when he was a Laker coach, he was garbage. So I am biased when it comes to that. I know his system or his style works and it has worked. And he has a good, I was going to say diploma, but a good resume when it comes to his coaching career. But just because he fucked up our Lakers, I cannot, and it wasn't his fault, but I'm going to put the blame on him because someone needs to take the blame.
Mhm.
I don't think so. Why?
Well,
Do you think he's a good one?
I think simply the fact that he was on the forefront of the run and gun movement, right? Like I look back, to be honest with you, some of my fondest early memories of watching the NBA, and I started later than you, of course. For people that don't know, I really started watching after Shaq left, uh, probably when the Lakers were at the worst, and this was even after 2006. After Kobe scored the 81 points, I missed that game. I didn't even watch that, but I started following it more closely around that time. Um, and I realized that the Phoenix Suns were probably the most exciting team of that era, at least in that part of the 2010s, or not even 2010s, the 2000s. Led by Steve Nash, of course, a younger Steve Nash, two-time MVP Steve Nash, Sean Marion. You had Raja Bell, who people were familiar with as a Kobe irritant. They would always be going back and forth. You had guys like who else did you have? You had Amari Stoudemire, Stat, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and Jason Richardson. These guys um, were very versatile. They could shoot threes. They could, Amari could do a little bit of everything inside as well. And Nash was just amazing to watch. Like the way he just had that ball on a yo-yo,
He
just
was
on
a
a
wizard.
string.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I still remember, I don't know if you remember, Don, but he had this patented way of shooting a fadeaway jumper in the middle of the lane. Like
Mm-hmm.
he would dribble, 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 just run around in circles,
Yeah.
and then just lean back almost all the way and shoot like a high arcing shot
Oh yeah.
over any defender that was trying to block him. And I always thought that was so cool. Like he always found a way to get a little bit of space,
Mm-hmm.
lean back and go for the J.
Yep.
So the person who really enabled him, and that's the operative word here. The coach that enabled him was Coach D'Antoni. He was responsible for the run and gun offense. At the time, it was deemed gimmicky, right? And of course, D'Antoni was never able to take those Phoenix Suns all the way to the finals,
Mm-hmm.
but they came close. I think they made the Western Conference Finals at least one time, if I recall correctly. And they had some battles with the Spurs, with the Lakers, of course. But I always thought he was on to something that would eventually become more commonplace. And fast forward a little bit into the 2010s, you find the Golden State Warriors taking elements of that run and gun style, not quite as flagrant, not quite as run and gun, mixing a little bit of Steve Kerr's and Mark Jackson's coaching mantra, but still they play fast. And then you see D'Antoni again finding success with a really, really great point guard, or point forward rather, in James Harden. And I look at that and I think it's no fluke that he was able to turn Nash into a 2-time MVP and James Harden into a 1-time MVP. That just doesn't happen that easily unless the coach really enables you to play freely. So for me, from that perspective, I think D'Antoni's greatest advantage is when he finds someone that's compatible with his system, he can make you an MVP. And he's proven that on 2 occasions. But now you can counter here and you can say, oh, well, look at his time with Carmelo Anthony on the Knicks, right? Not so good, right? He played Jeremy Lin a little bit, but then when Melo came back, Jeremy Lin had to go back to the bench, I think. So, I just think history will remember D'Antoni a very balanced way. He has done some great things with Phoenix Suns and Rockets, but also with the Lakers, like you said, with the Knicks, he hasn't had much success, and who knows what will happen on the next team. I believe elements of his game plan can actually go into a championship team that literally does win a championship. But as is, I think he will be in the same vein as a Jerry Sloan. One of the best coaches in the league, probably top 5 in my opinion, but never winning a title.
Yeah.
You might be speechless at my take, Don, but
no, it's not that I'm speechless. I there's nothing I could say that's, I agree with you. It's we'll see where he ends up. That's what's interesting to me, and that's where I'm trying to think of, like, what team would willingly take a coach that basically crafted a team to his style of run and gun play and then ends up leaving it when it doesn't work.
Well, I think teams wouldn't focus too much on that aspect of his departure. They'll focus more on what he's been able to do with the Rockets, starting from before he was even on the team and knowing what kind of offense they were, just with Harden and some of the other guys, and then revolutionizing it through his gameplay, through his coaching style. And I think one vacancy that pops up, I believe, I don't know if Brett Brown is still around for Philly.
I haven't heard anything.
Think that may be a coaching position that's up for grabs. So,
if that's you're gonna put a big man in MBE, in D'Antoni's hands.
I'm gonna put Ben Simmons in D'Antoni's hands.
Oh, a guard that shoots the 3 maybe once a year.
Well, this is the interesting thing, right? I think we have yet to see D'Antoni take a point forward, a non-shooting point forward, into the next level. But I feel like Ben Simmons has all the other skills to become an MVP. Don't you think so? Like, it's kind of premature for me to say this, but I think all he needs is to be truly enabled and given the opportunity to play at a fast pace.
You got to trust the process, man. You got to trust the process.
You do.
I think D'Antoni's style requires speed, and I don't see the 76ers as a relatively fast team compared to others in the league. Embiid, great center, slow as fuck. Ben Simmons, he's basically a point forward, not necessarily the fastest on the court, but is fast for his position.
Yeah.
Tobias Harris, I would say average speed, or maybe above average, but not by much.
I would say maybe below average by a little bit, actually.
And I can't.
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
Josh Richardson too. I hear you. They're not really. It's not screaming out at you that they're a fast-paced team by nature. But that's okay. I think that's really okay, because sometimes you can make the fast pace happen by changing the mentality of the players. Instead of all this crashing the boards, you just run. You just keep running.
Just say fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of how the Phoenix Suns started. They weren't focused too much on rebounding. It was more about shoot, run back. Shoot, run back. Don't even worry about the offensive rebound. Just run back. And just fast break all the time, right? So, you never know. I think coaching vacancies in the NBA are always there, and if not the 76ers, I'm sure he'll find another home. But speaking of coaching vacancies that recently got filled, did you know that Steve Nash, the guy who we've been talking about a little bit here, he is now the new head coach of the Brooklyn Nets?
Oh, did not know that.
That's right. You can remain speechless on that one as well. He was actually hired somewhat recently, and to some controversy. And this is really what I want to get into here with the controversy because, as you know, First Take featuring Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman, great guy, Max Kellerman. Stephen A., he was saying that this is another example, or not really an example, but he was using this as an opportunity, Steve Nash's hire, as an opportunity to talk about white privilege. And it was interesting to me because he was saying that, this wouldn't happen if Steve Nash were black. And I was thinking, how can you even say that? Like, how can you really say that when clearly it's more about Nash's personal relationships with the GM, Sean Marks. It's about Nash's resume as a 2-time NBA MVP, as a multiple-time All-Star, his connection with Kevin Durant on the Warriors. I think he might have been some kind of a personal assistant, and there was some footage of Nash helping KD train. For all those reasons and more, he's a likable guy, winning personality. I believe, and that's what he states as well, is a reason why he jumped the line and maybe took away opportunities from others to get this very, very coveted position. Now tell me this, Don. Do you see Stephen A's side of this? Do you see how this could be used as an example to reinforce how white privilege is a real thing in NBA coaching? And granted, it is. Neither of us are disagreeing with that. But do you think it was appropriate for him to bring it up in this context?
I mean, it's relevant given what's going on in the rest of the world today, or at least specifically here in the U.S., with all the issues that we're facing with racial equality and just in general. I don't like it when we hire people for the sake of diversity. I think that it's great to have diversity in the workplace and across all aspects of life, but rather than trying to check a diversity box, what you should be checking is the rest of the checklist of qualifications that should come for fulfilling a job and doing well at it. So Stephen A. is probably just trying to stir the pot some more, and he's definitely spilling some of the beans all over the place. But I think he's cooking up the wrong pot here when it comes to the conversation of, or rather the analysis of Steve Nash getting in this position.
Playing devil's advocate a little bit here.
Always do, man. What do you mean? You don't even have to mention it.
I know. It was naturally coming. It was a natural next part of this conversation. He did mention examples. He talked about Isaiah Thomas with the Knicks. He talked about Magic Johnson with the Lakers. Very briefly. And Derek Fisher with the Knicks as well. And I think there were a few other African American players that were given like a decent head coaching position. But I think what he's really saying is that he hasn't seen it yet quite at this level where it's almost a foregone conclusion, knock on wood, if they're healthy, Nash and KD will take that team to the playoffs at the very minimum.
Oh, okay.
And chances are, with some of those other pieces like a Karis LeVert, Dinwiddie off the bench, your
favorite player? Your favorite player?
Jared Allen. All these guys. That could be the makings of a contender.
Sure.
And it's rare for anybody to get that kind of a sweet coaching gig, number one.
Yeah.
Right? I think the closest example that's a corollary to this would be Steve Kerr taking over the Warriors
Sure.
and leading them to a title.
Yeah.
Not quite the same. Not
Yeah.
quite the same.
Yeah, and I would say also
You know.
Tyronn Lue leading the Cavs to a championship.
Well, I would not really use him as the leader in that example, but I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean.
Kind of just
you
like,
know,
come along for the ride. We'll give you your first, top tier job. Don't forget about us in the future.
Do you think that's kind of what it's like for Nash? Like, I almost feel like with KD kind of being his buddy, Kyrie Irving probably looking up to Nash, they play the same position. I wonder if they were like, you know what?
Exactly.
We know we can win with almost anybody because
Yeah.
this is our team.
Yeah.
Why not have a guy that we like and we think
Yeah.
maybe cool to be our coach?
Yeah. I think it's a play on personability, so that way the culture of the team becomes that of a player-oriented sort of approach. It's not just bringing in someone that's, a subpar past NBA player who has history with it. It's an actual MVP, high-caliber player when he was a player who's still relatively young and can relate to the players on a different level than someone who's, like a Pop, for example. But I'd love to have a beer with Pop one day. But that's different. We'll save that for a different day.
I'd love to have Popovich as a coach for the Lakers. By the way, wouldn't that be something?
Dude, yeah, in a heartbeat. What? Drop someone? Like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Hey, Vogel out. What? You want Kid too? Fuck it, Kid. Sorry, bro, but yeah, we're taking Pop. He's gonna be head and assistant at the same time. We'll be good.
Out of context, that sounds really interesting. Fuck it, Kid, you're out. We're taking Pop. Like that. If you're like a kidnapper or something, that could be a very dangerous situation. But sorry, I'm detracting from your main point.
Yeah.
Please.
No,
go.
and I think what's really happening is they saw what Steve Nash did as a point guard, and to me, when Steve Nash was playing, and he was in his prime as a point guard, he was not selfish. He controlled the ball. He probably had the ball in every possession for the majority of the possession, but he distributed the ball very, very well at maybe the highest caliber at the time. Kyrie has a type A personality that's somehow mixed in with a type B at the same time. Maybe because he lives on the flat world. Who knows? The magnetic fields are weird for those kinds of people. But it may be something where they're trying to get Kyrie to become not a scoring point guard, but a playmaking point guard to open up avenues for KD. Because I could see that clash happening where if Kyrie wants to be number one, but KD is obviously number one, it could be a cultural problem that we see in the Clippers right now in regards to
I'm so glad you mentioned the Clippers, Don, because as you know, something very shocking happened just the other day.
Yeah, I lost money. I know. Fuck.
You lost money.
Very shocking.
In more ways than one. But the Clippers, who were touted to be by many the favorites to win it all this year, they have been eliminated in Game 7 of the second round.
Fucking losers. Fucking losers!
That's right. They are losers, and they lost to none other than the Denver Nuggets.
Who, by the way, not to... I know we're not going to be talking about them too much, but the Nuggets are a ridiculous team, and we're not going to discredit them at all. They earned it, and they are a damn scary team that's going to be going up against our Lakers.
Absolutely. Some other people know this about me. For fantasy basketball, I would always make a point never to draft a Nugget because I would tell people, the team's too messy. It's just they share the ball too much. Nobody really stands out that much to me. Jokic, yeah, whatever. You can draft him in the first round. I'm going to get LeBron. I'm going to get somebody else. But now, after I've been able to watch a little bit, the fourth quarters and catching some of the highlights of these playoffs, I eat all of my words. I eat all of the words I've said because Jamal Murray and Jokic, that duo, that combination needs more respect. They have done things that are truly commendable
Mm-hmm.
and amazing, to be honest. Like Murray against the Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz,
Sure.
he went off for like 50 and 40, 50 like a couple of times, right? Like multiple times. And I didn't know he was capable of that on a night in, night out basis.
I didn't either. If I'm going to be honest, did not know.
And beyond that, the team is so deep. Like, you even look at their bench and the youngest guy, Michael Porter Jr., who's playing heavy minutes. I mean, I know you're a fan, right? You're a fan of MP Jr.
Yep. Yeah, I think he's going to be great, and I think he is still very rusty from coming back from an injury, and is still somehow growing into his body. But he's doing well for what he can do right now.
I guess that's one way to put it. I thought it was rather cocky of him during the press conference after a loss, I think it was, where he was like, I know I can shoot, I know I can score, I need the ball more. He actually said that as like a rookie or a second-year player, whatever he is. And I thought, wow, he really shouldn't be saying that after a loss. If anything, he should respect the pecking order and talk to the point guard, talk to Jamal Murray directly, like, hey, pass to me when I'm open, because he knows better than to just air out all this dirty laundry in the press. I'm really not a fan. I know some players are good at this, but I'm really not a fan of players who kind of talk through the media to get through to the player. You know what I mean? Like, LeBron used to do this when he was frustrated by his Cavalier teammates. Hint, hint, J.R. Smith. And some others. So, with MP Jr., I'm sure, he has some growing to do. He'll learn how to carry himself a little bit better, and he's still growing into his NBA body, like you said. He has years to grow. But yeah, like the Clippers, it shocked me. I actually had them in our bracket for the bracket pool that we're doing, going all the way and winning the title. So my bracket's busted.
Damn, you turned on your late.
Well, I was debating hard between a couple of different decisions. I was debating between Lakers and Clippers, and my heart wanted Lakers, but my mind thought, Clippers are the better team on paper in terms of depth. And I thought they had better chemistry too. But I guess in the bubble, they really weren't that great. And on the flip side, my bracket on the East is already busted because I had Milwaukee going all the way to the finals and facing Toronto in the conference finals. But as you guys know, it's Miami versus Boston. So I'm completely done with this bracket. I got to check to see who's going to win it all. Maybe Don still has a shot.
I have a shot, man. Lakers are going all the way.
I like it. Who you have for MVP, LeBron?
Of course.
I like it. And, speaking of these brackets and these competitions, Don and I were actually going to be doing something coming up for the Nuggets-Lakers series, which is the Western Conference Finals officially. Still weird to say that it's the Denver Nuggets and not the Clippers. But we were actually going to do a series of interesting prop bets. Now, this is our first time doing proposition bets. But for those that don't know, prop bets are essentially these circumstances that need to come true for the money to be awarded. So, for instance, we can say something like, in Game 1, who will be the high point scorer? If Don goes with LeBron, I go with Jamal Murray. If neither of us win, if it turns out to be AD, then nobody gets money, obviously. But if, let's say, it is Jamal Murray, then I would get the 5 or I would get the 1, whatever it would be. So it's a lot of those stipulations, right? A lot of those very, minor details that tend to get overlooked when you just look at a game score. And so we wanted to really expand our betting prowess.
Sure.
We tried the spread. We tried blanket bets. Which
I'm flexing right now. You have no idea.
Don, why don't you go ahead and tell them how the blanket bet worked out?
Hey, man, it was Lakers. I took the Lakers over Houston. I think it was every other game or every odd game. It was a straight up win. Every even game, I had to take the spread or something of that sort. And I think you took Game 1, and I was slightly scared. And then the Lakers proceeded to juggernaut through the rest of them. Right. So I came up. But what do you say for this bet? or series of prop bets for this Nuggets Lakers series. Well, what's the first one you think would be solid? And are we doing this for game one?
So I wanted to talk to you about that. I want to break this down into two categories. One should be for the length of the series,
sure,
and another should be game by game.
Okay.
So what we can do, let's make another column here. I'm just gonna. Oh, you work in the Magic? You work in the Excel? All right.
Yeah,
the
game by game and then series.
All right. Yeah.
All right. And then so here we'll go game 1, game 2. Right, sort of thing.
Well. Let's do this. I'm gonna take over a little bit for you over here. Take over a little bit for you.
Oh, okay.
What we're gonna do, we're gonna just kind of leave some room here for game 2. We're not gonna fill out the rest right now.
Okay.
We're only gonna focus on game 1.
All right.
So for oh shit. So what is this? Oh, game by game is on the left. I'm sorry. Let me insert a column to the left here, and I'm gonna just do game 1 over here. And we'll do game 2 down here. Sorry, see, I'm not as pro with the Excels and spreadsheets.
I don't know what's going
so
on over there.
I know. Okay, so for the series, okay, let's first talk about the series because it's a little bit more, interesting. And you, yes, let's put that in a different color background as well. Let's make that red and white, and then the last square can be, of course, blue. There we go.
What is this, like France or?
Actually, yes. I was trying to go for US, but it looks more like Francois. It looks more like Macron's country.
All right. So game by game. Okay, so let's actually do series first. I think for the series, one thing I want to do is say how many games it'll go. I think that's the easiest one. Easy.
So we'll go number of games, and then I will say this will go. Gosh. If we say the same thing, then it's not going to count,
right?
Yeah,
and that's out. Yeah. So I'll let you go first. You pick first, and then for the next bet, I got to pick first.
Okay, I'm going to go with 7. Oh,
okay, easy. All right, I'm going
6,
5.
Right? 5? Okay,
yeah,
wow.
I'm going 5, easy.
All right. I think, that's good. So let me go ahead and fill out that 5 for you. Okay,
so if they don't win in 5, I'm hoping for a game. Just kill it in game 6.
I feel you. I know, and I'll be rooting for like just losses in both ways. I don't know if I like the 7 anymore.
No, too late. Locked in.
Locked in. Put a lock on that cell, security password. Okay, what else can we do for the series? What would be interesting? I guess we were thinking of like like maybe first person to get a technical.
Oh, that's solid.
Yeah.
First person with a flagrant.
Yeah. So first flagrant foul.
Yeah.
Who do you think? I'll let you get first on that one. Who do you think that'll be?
Hey, wait. I want to take first technical.
Okay. Let's do that instead. First tech.
Yeah.
But how are we going to stipulate this? Because would a tech be like hanging on the rim? Would that count as a tech?
No, when a legitimate referee called tech.
Okay, that may be a little bit difficult to keep track of because
because then we'll be able to talk about it. If it's like hanging on the rim or whatever, and it's officially the ref's like fuck it, he does the T sign, calls it out.
Okay, fine. We'll play that one by ear. So
right.
Who do you think will get the first tech?
First tech is gonna go on to none other than. I'm stuck between choosing Rondo, Vogel, or LeBron. I don't think LeBron. They will never give LeBron a technical first because he's intense. Rondo, I feel they'll pull it on him relatively quickly. And then Vogel. I mean, they're not scared of white guys, so I doubt they'll give him a technical. You know what? I'm gonna go with none other. Than my boy.
Dwight. I knew it. I was gonna say it, dude. Dwight. Like somehow, some way, his contribution will be the first tech of the series.
Well, because he does complain quite often when he's on the court, and he's not on for very prolonged periods of time. So I think, they'll give him one.
I feel you, and I'll go with Rajon Rondo. I think.
Right? You thought it's solid, right? I was between those two.
It's likely one of those two. All right, so that's first tech. Now let's talk about the first
First flagrant.
flagrant. May be difficult, but sure, let's do that. Let's just go hard on this one. First prop bet is going to be crazy. Okay, so first flagrant. Oh, why did I put it down there? Jesus, let me move that up here.
And I said we
First
go at
flagrant.
five total, and we're good for the series. For now.
Ooh, okay. So we'll think of 5 for now. I will go first with a flagrant. This is, of course, committing the flagrant foul, not receiving it.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go with. Gosh, I feel like we're always gonna pick Lakers for these penalties. Like
It's gonna happen. Yeah.
it's gonna happen, right? I would say, who would be? Maybe don't we have a Morris brother?
Yep.
Is Marcus Morris kind of rowdy, or is that the Markieff Morris? I forget which one.
I'm not gonna say.
Oh, that might be Markieff, actually. So I'm not going to lock that in yet. I'm going to go with who would be a flagrant character? Who's even on the Lakers right now? We got Caruso. Nah, he's clean. Maybe somebody on the Nuggets. Maybe a Jokic. Maybe a LeBron. AD. I'm going to go with... I'm going to put a surprise one here. I'm going to go with Jokic.
Really?
Yeah. I think it'll be one of those weird flagrants where he tries to wrap up a guy, but he kind of clotheslines him or goes around the collar a bit too much.
Sure.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. And Dawn is deciding. See, I was thinking of him too, but I just didn't know if he's disciplined enough not to do it when it matters.
No, because think about who's going to be guarding LeBron.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great point. I like that. I'm with that, Jeremiah Grant. So then now we got to go first ejection. And I will actually say no one gets ejected.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Yeah.
All right, for this one, I'm calling out Rondo. No, actually, you know what? I didn't complete writing it out, so it doesn't count.
That's okay. I backspaced a lot. I deleted a lot too. It's all good.
Damn. You know what? This is going to go to... I think we're going to hit a chord with Murray. He's going to have a shitty night. And then he's just going to get super pissed off for whatever reason. And it's going to build and build and build. So on the game 5, when it's do or die from, he's going to blow up and get ejected.
Wow. Interesting. I don't know if Murray is that type of a player. But
Well, we haven't seen it yet. But he is... True. He is part of the Kobe mentality, or the ones that idolized him. So he's going to bring out the I don't know, the low oxygen Mamba because he's in Denver. And once he's reaching that point of suffocation, he's going to let it all out and boom, get the fuck out, get back in your cage.
Very good. So for the last one now, because we're only thinking of 5 for the moment.
Sure.
What would be a good final one for the series?
First one to foul out.
Okay. So we're all thinking of penalties here. All right.
Or no. Let's say, what about the first person to total 200 points?
I'd rather do the top scorer for the series. I'd rather do that one.
Okay.
But I like the first person to foul out because that's actually more likely than the ejection, I think.
Sure.
First to foul out. Okay, and I'm gonna go with. Actually, you go first on this one. You go first. Really, Michael Porter Jr.?
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna know what to do when he's guarding Anthony Davis.
Is he gonna guard Davis or LeBron? I feel like he's too small for Davis.
He's
right?
too lanky and too slow to be guarding LeBron. But he has enough height for when he comes in on the secondary to, get Anthony Davis on or Dwight.
All right, I'm gonna go with another surprise here. I'm debating actually between 2 people here. I think Dwight makes the most sense. I was gonna go with Jokic just to kind of surprise you, but I'll go with Dwight here.
No, not surprised.
All right. So looks like we got our 5 for now, but let's do a number 6. We'll do number 6 as well. So we'll do most points.
I'm gonna say most points scored.
Oh, got it. Perfect.
Right.
Okay, so I'll go first for this one.
Go ahead.
I will go because the interesting thing is this doesn't necessarily have to come from the winning team.
It doesn't. Yeah.
I just get the feeling it's going to come down to AD and Jamal Murray. One of those two.
Perfect. I'm picking the other one that you don't pick, just to rub it in your face when I win.
That's fine. I hope it's LeBron then. I hope LeBron gets it. You can go ahead and put AD down there. Okay, so that rounds it out, and I think for the interest of time, we'll keep it there for the podcast betting. Anthony picked it, Davis. Perfect. And so I think now would be a perfect time, since we're talking about who will take the commanding lead in points for the series. Why not talk about the 4th lesson?
I like it. I like where you're going.
Antonio Cummins.
Oh, Antonio.
It is Antonio Cummins.
I didn't know how to pronounce that Y, so it's good that it comes out to
that's right.
EO.
It's an IO. It's an IO. EO. That's right. So from Antonio Cummins, The Ultimate Art of War, we are going to read Lesson 6, which is the 4th of the 5 constant factors, a.k.a. the Commander.
Ooh.
And let me just break it down to you, Don, and also for those in the audience that are interested. A strong military commander is key to success in warfare. Such a leader will have mastered the art of war on behalf of the people and the troops. A proper military leader upholds the following 5 virtues at all times with an unbreakable determination.
Unbreakable.
Number 1, wisdom and intelligence. 2 qualities that you're still aspiring to gain. The ability to make detailed plans and be flexible enough to change them if required. Actually, I would say you're pretty good at that. Integrity and trustworthiness. 0 of that from my end. So that the forces know their commander is fair. Yeah, my forces may jump ship after the first battle. Compassion. I would say we're both compassionate people. Understanding the plight of each soldier. Sensing when the forces are in discomfort and pain, and acting accordingly. Courage. I lack courage, but I know the D has a lot of courage.
Plenty of
Mastering fear in order to be formidable. And of course, something that both Don and I are working towards, discipline. Enforcing a strict but fair code that rewards the right people and punishes wrongdoers without any hint of favoritism. And here's a war tip for all of you Art of War aficionados. Train your mind. Act in a way that inspires trust. Understand the feelings of your troops. Conquer your fear. And treat everyone fairly. I gotta say, out of all the lessons so far, this one is definitely in my top 6. Actually, it's my favorite so far. Primarily because I always wonder, what makes a good leader? Because I associate commander with leader, and this is probably the easiest one to make parallels with our day-to-day, whether it's at work, some kind of conflict situation at the home. You want to know how to make the right decision, how to take an input from those around you, and come to a sound and very clear decision that hopefully everyone can at least understand. If they don't agree with it, they can at least understand. Sure. So what do you think of being a commander, Don? Do you more or less agree that these 5 tenets of being a commander are very important?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think spot on with the wisdom and intelligence. If you didn't have any of that, you wouldn't be in that position anyways. Integrity, of course, it's being able to basically have, well, they said there, and trustworthiness. It's to have the trust of others around you, because they know that whatever you do is, with the right intentions, regardless of whatever action is being taken. The biggest thing to me that, oddly enough is called out is the compassion, because I think that's something that is lacking and is one of the big hot topic issues that are currently going on in our world socially today. Just the understanding that comes with the context of every situation. I think leaders sometimes lose that sight and tend to focus on the bottom line of their stock dollar amount. But, to really understand where other people are coming from is key in today's day and age, where, our generation, and I'm sure future generations, are just going to want to be understood. And it's going to take compassion from leaders to deal with that sort of babying, for lack of a better word, that may occur.
I don't know. You're absolutely right about the compassion. I think that one stood out to me as well, because it's really important for a leader to understand their personnel.
Yep.
Understand what makes them tick, what motivates them, what scares them, what are they uncomfortable with, because I think the more you know about people, the more you know how much you can get out of them, number one. And also, in general, this is kind of a belief that I have, and I think we talked about this before when we talked about, like, what kind of leader we would be in some kind of post-apocalyptic scenario.
Giant spoon and fork, yeah.
Spoon and fork, that's right. How can I forget? I think you have to be compassionate. It's one thing to be the smartest person in the world, but if you're super smart and you don't give a damn about your people, I don't think that makes you a good leader. Yep. And I like that they listed it out this way.
Yep.
And it makes me wonder, the leaders that we think of, maybe at our workplace, maybe in our politics, even in our home life, like, do the leaders that we know of have all these qualities? Like, just briefly, before we close it off, commander. The first person I think of when I think of commander is the commander-in-chief. And I don't like thinking about Trump first when I think of those words, but alas, that is the predicament that we're in. When I think of Trump and I match him to these 5 tenets, right? These 5 virtues, I would say he does not have integrity and trustworthiness, but that's probably true for most politicians. I don't know if he's compassionate. I feel like he's compassionate to those that are loyal to him, but maybe not in general. I think he has courage. I think more than anything, he has courage. I don't think he has discipline in the traditional sense, because he rewards the wrongdoers and punishes the right people. He has that mixed up. And wisdom and intelligence, I think his deal making, his ability to rally the crowds and persuade people, maybe can be measured as some kind of wisdom, some kind of intelligence. But I don't know, man. I think he's clocking it at like maybe 2 out of 5 at best. What are you thinking for Mr. Trump here?
5 out of 5.
If you have the book open, of course. If you
Oh, you didn't hear me? I said 5 out of 5.
Oh yeah, it's this dang Discord. I just have to say, I think we probably have to. Oh no, it's all good. No, you don't have to apologize. I think if anything, I gotta figure out what's up with these audio issues, because a lot of times this podcast, by the way, it sounds like you just say nothing, like for like long periods. And I'm like, oh man.
Oh,
okay.
You know what? It's probably because since you're hearing me on Discord, sometimes they won't pick it up, but I see the green bar. Well, wisdom and intelligence. I'm just going to sidestep it. Wisdom and intelligence, I think he has his own style of wisdom and intelligence, given, as you had mentioned, being a deal maker and negotiator. Integrity and trustworthiness, I think, is something that the American public is not necessarily hinging on. So, depending on where you stand on his decisions, it could be a yes or a no. Compassion, again, it depends on what side of the coin you're on. You could be agreeing with him, saying that, he actually does have compassion to the people, or you could be disagreeing with them. Courage, definitely has courage.
Yeah, we could agree, yeah.
And discipline, I would say he actually does have. It may not be an agreeable approach, but he is disciplined enough to follow through with his agenda.
So It sounds like you're saying he's a 5 out of 5.
I think he is. I mean, it's one of, if not the hardest jobs in the world to do. And I think it is, as you and I'm sure both try to do, it's very difficult to please everybody. Now imagine trying to please the most powerful nation in the world with people that range from, or that come from all different aspects of life with various backgrounds and various colors and various beliefs, religions, stances on every such topic. It's not me to say if he's right or wrong. At least in my own opinion, it's one of those, he's doing the best that he can do. And I dare anybody to vote for the birthday party and see if that fucker does any better.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Don has officially announced his vote for Donald Trump on November 3rd. And he believes that Donald Trump is the best commander since Sun Tzu.
Hold on. You're putting words in my mouth here. We're not ending on that note, man.
I'm not summarizing correctly. It's not an accurate depiction of what just happened in this conversation. My bad.
Arjun just lost his 5 out of 5. The trustworthiness here.
I never said I was trustworthy. I never said I was. I think that was fair game. I think people know if they follow me, they may be led down the wrong hole. But in any case, it's always interesting to kind of go through Antonio Cummins' Ultimate Art of War. We will be finishing up the 5 lessons next time, and just to give you guys a quick little preview. Actually, you know what? We're going to keep you in suspense. We're not going to tell you what the last particular constant factor.
Yeah, check out, what is it, like 6 episodes ago now, and you'll be able to find it.
Yeah, that's true. I probably did list it for everybody. And with that, though, without further ado, we just want to say thank you to all of our new subscribers. And thank you for watching all of our oldest fans, We've been doing this for quite some time.
Yeah.
There's been changes, both on the podcast, as you saw, with the theme song changing and the cover art now, and we have more things planned. Yep. We're going to keep some of those hush until we actually unveil it. But let's just say you may have more than one way of tuning into the SoCal DNA on a Wednesday night.
Live show. Fuck social distancing.
And with that, I will say, everyone have a great week. I know the weather's still kind of warm, but stay cool, my friends.
Peace.